from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening, this is the National News Broadcast bringing you your stories for tonight. I'm Prashant De Silva.
A very good evening indeed. I'm Sharifah Tahir. Let's take a look at the headlines.
Talks between the President and several heads of states. Attention to further strengthen economic ties with the state of Benin. A decline in vegetable prices. A stock of heroin valued at nearly 1.63 billion rupees has been recovered in an operation carried out in the southern seas of Sri Lanka. IGP instructs all police stations that officers in civilian clothes cannot engage in the inspection of the vehicles. Duties have been suspended of 51 more electricity workers. Minister Bandhu says that the VAT could be reduced to 15% from 18% if all businessmen pay their taxes. 13 students killed in a fire at a school hostel in China.
Now on to local stories in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe participated in bilateral discussions with various leaders and representatives from global south countries in the African region yesterday the 19th, coinciding with Non-Aligned Nations Conference held in Kampala, Uganda.
In the afternoon of the same day, a meeting between President Ranil Wickremesinghe and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa transpired. The South African President warmly welcomed President Ranil Wickremesinghe and the two leaders actively engaged in bilateral discussions. Simultaneously, Tanzania's Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa also held a meeting with President Ranil Wickremesinghe where they delved into bilateral discussions. Bahamas Prime Minister Philippe Davis had a discussion with President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Prime Minister of Ethiopia Abiy Ahmed also met with President Ranil Wickremesinghe, participating in meaningful bilateral discussions. External Affairs Minister of India S. Jaishankar met with President Ranil Wickremesinghe for discussions yesterday. In a tweet following the meeting, the Indian Minister of External Affairs appreciated Sri Lankan President's continued guidance for the advancement of bilateral initiatives between India and Sri Lanka. The official meeting between President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Prime Minister of Nepal Pushpa Kamal Dahal took place today in Kampala, Uganda, in conjunction with the Non-Aligned Movement Summit. Focus on enhancing economic ties between Sri Lanka and the Republic of Benin. Bilateral discussions were held yesterday between President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Vice President of the Republic of Benin, Ms. Mariam Shabi Talata, yesterday on the sidelines of the Non-Aligned Movement Summit in Kampala, Uganda. An MOU on visa exemption for holders of diplomatic, official and service passport is set to be signed between the two nations was also discussed. Diplomatic ties between Sri Lanka and the Republic of Benin, established in 2012, took center stage with a focus on advancing economic and trade connections. The agreement was signed by Mr. Ali Sabri, Sri Lanka's Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Mr. Olusegun Ajadi Bakari, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Republic of Benin.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe's recent visit to Uganda has significantly contributed to strengthening diplomatic ties with African nations that have previously been overlooked in Sri Lanka's foreign relations. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ali Sabri, highlighted the importance of these engagements, emphasizing the sizable population of approximately 1.3 billion in these African countries and the anticipated rapid development in the future. In his special statement today, Minister Ali Sabri pointed out that President Ranil Wickremesinghe's Look Africa initiative has laid the groundwork for Sri Lanka to invest in African nations, marking the commencement of new economic journey for the country. In a special statement on the official visit to Uganda, where President Wickremesinghe participated in the 19th Conference of Non-Aligned Movement and the G77 plus China Summit, Minister Sabri reiterated the significance of broadening Sri Lanka's engagement with Africa and said that reflecting on the past year and a half since President Wickremesinghe assumed office, there has been widespread acclaim for the notable advancements Sri Lanka has achieved. Minister also added that Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni specifically applauded President Wickremesinghe for contributing to the reconstruction of the nation. Minister further said that the Non-Aligned Nations Summit provided a platform to present the current situation in Sri Lanka to the international community, and this visit by the President has played a crucial role in fostering bilateral relations with numerous countries in the African region.
In the meantime, taxation has become a widely discussed topic today in Sri Lanka, and IMF role in that process is also under debate. At a press conference held yesterday in Colombo, IMF delegates who concluded a tour in Sri Lanka explained their stance on Sri Lanka's taxation.
On taxation, we have to remember, in 2019, tax revenue in Sri Lanka amounted to approximately 11% of GDP. This went down to 7% of GDP in 2022, big drop. So already 11% was very low because expenditures are of the order of 20% of GDP. So by 2022, you had a gap of 13% of GDP, and that's when essentially the money ran out, when creditors said, we're not going to lend you that difference anymore, and that's how Sri Lanka went into this deep crisis. I mean, you can look at the causes for that. There were tax cuts, there was the lack of tourists from the Easter tax, there was COVID, so there were many factors that played a role. And so the big challenge now for Sri Lanka is to get that number again closer to its expenditure levels and closer to a level where creditors are willing to say, okay, we will lend you the difference, we will help you cover the difference. So now in 2023, we're hoping that expenditure goes from 7% of GDP last year to 9% of GDP this year. And as I said at the beginning, there are good signs that in the last quarter of the year, revenue collection went up, and that this objective will be met. Now, 9% is still not even half of the expenditure level. So it's important to continue with these reforms. There's the objective of reaching 12% in 2024, and then 14% beyond that in 2025. So how is this being accomplished? Well, the authorities put in place significant reforms starting in 2022. So just around the time that staff level agreement at that time was reached, they put in place significant personal income tax, corporate income tax reforms that take time, to actually take effect. But this year we are feeling the effects of that. Now, this year the increase in VAT happened, and next year in 2025 the property tax is meant to happen, which is a progressive way of taxation, meaning that those who can afford it more, those who have more expensive houses will in fact, or property, will have to pay a higher tax. So I think the program is off to a good start. We see the effects of these reforms taking place. It is, we haven't even gone back to where Sri Lanka was in 2019. We have to remember that Sri Lanka did used to pay a lot more taxes. It's just a lot easier to cut them than to raise them, and that's what's making this difficult. But I think Sri Lanka will get there, and this is how it will be able to convince creditors that it's again worthwhile to lend to Sri Lanka, and that way Sri Lanka will be able to extricate itself from the crisis. Now, having said that, it's important to recognize the hardship that tax increases and that the crisis in general is imposing on the population, and it is important to recognize that. And as Sabat explained, we saw some of this hardship ourselves in the various travels that we have done, and so the program does also provide for social protections to make sure that the vulnerable who do not have the buffers to deal with the hardships are taken care of, and that those who can most afford it come to their help through the government.
Correspondents of the national television say that the increase in the prevailing higher prices of vegetables.
The reason being the markets receiving vegetable harvests from many parts of the island. The main vegetable distributing special economic center of the country, the Capitale Economic Center, has recorded price reductions in many types of vegetables. A kilo of carrot, which was at 1,600 rupees, has come down to 650 rupees by today. Meanwhile, a kilo of beans, which was trading at 1,200 rupees, is also reduced to 500 rupees. Traders say vegetable stocks have been received by economic centers are gradually increasing. However, the farmers say they are having some difficulties in marketing their vegetable produce. The SLRC report is that reductions in wholesale prices of vegetables in several other economic centers, including Paliyagoda and Dambulla, have also been reported. Minister Mahinda Amaraveera also expressed opinion regarding vegetable prices to the media today. Minister of Agriculture and Plantation Industries Mahinda Amaraveera said that prices would further come down next month. He also said farmers have started cultivating in the new year. Unless there is an emergency, the vegetable prices will definitely go down. The minister added that, however, the price increase is once again expected in May, June and July, and they are ready to face any such price hikes. Meanwhile, the government has commenced provision of compensation for cultivations damaged by drought in the Yalla season of 2023. 1 billion rupees has been set aside for this purpose. Minister Mahinda Amaraveera said that 560 million rupees out of this sum have been paid to the recipients within 2 months. The severe drought that had affected the Yalla season of 2023 destroyed 65,000 acres of land of cultivated paddy and other crops. The areas affected included the Walava region and Kurunegala, as well as the southern province. Minister Mahinda Amaraveera has presided over an event in Variapula yesterday to hand over compensation to farmers in the Kurunegala district whose crops were damaged by drought. The amount of compensation handed over on this occasion was 25 million rupees.
Minister Kanchana Vijayasekara has instructed the management of the Ceylon Electricity Board to halt the price of recovering from the payments of the electricity bills of the general public to offset the payment of interest on the financial facilities of CEB employees. Minister Kanchana Vijayasekara in his Twitter message has pointed out that a fortnight ago he had made a request from the management to report to him of the details pertaining to the financial facilities received by the CEB workers and also on the recruitment of. Accordingly, the information furnished to the minister by the financial division of the CEB, the total amount of credit facilities received by the board employees was 12 billion rupees. The board currently bears 2/3 of the interest payments of this amount. The minister's Twitter message says that the board is utilizing the electricity bill payments of the general public for the recovery of interest payments of loans to its employees. The minister has further ordered the relevant decision to provide him with a report on the services to be handed over to the outside groups in order to enhance efficiency and to reduce cost. A trade union agitation was conducted recently by the employees against privatization of the electricity board. Minister Vijayasekara has also instructed the CEB management to take appropriate disciplinary action, including suspension of duties of any employee who obstructs the performance of services or breaches the guidelines issued by the management. Accordingly, the CEB has suspended the services of 66 cashiers over obstructing the payment of electricity bills by the consumers by closing cash counters during a recent protest. Media spokesman of the CEB, Noel Priyanto, said that by now the authority is taking measures to inquire show cause from all employees. Another important issue is the gazette notification on essential services. Holidays of all employees have been cancelled. The administration is ready to take necessary measures after inquiries. He also said that the people are hoping to have a reduced electricity bill.
Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says the VAT could be reduced to 15% from 18% if all businessmen pay their taxes. He was addressing a gathering following an inspection tour of the local industry in Valampitiya, Kolonava today. The minister was engaged in the event according to an invitation extended by the chief organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna in Kolonava, Ajit Subasinghe. Dehydrated bits of fruits are being produced to be used to manufacture fruit cakes, yogurt, faluda and ice cream in the factory of A.H. Sarachandra. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that Sri Lanka should attempt as much as possible to manufacture goods for large markets such as India, China, Korea and Japan. If all businesses in Sri Lanka got registered in VAT, the tax percentage could be reduced to 15% to 18%. There is no value-added tax for primary commodities such as pepper. There are no VATs on vegetables, rice and fruits.
The Sri Lanka Navy today seized a local multi-day fishing trawler carrying over 65 grams of heroin and another multi-day fishing trawler suspected of assisting it. The haul was made during a special operation carried out about 100 nautical miles off the Dondra Head and southern waters. The operation also led to the apprehension of 11 suspects in connection to the smuggling racket. Accordingly, the special operation was mounted by the Sri Lankan Navy and Police Narcotics Bureau together with intelligence services. During the operation, the naval ship intercepted a suspicious local fishing trawler in southern waters yesterday morning. Subsequent search of the trawler led to the recovery of 3 sacks stuffed with heroin weighing more than 65 kilograms intending to be smuggled into the country. Also, the Navy held 5 suspects on board the drug-carrying trawler. Moreover, the Navy seized another multi-day fishing trawler and 6 suspects on board, suspecting their connection to the illicit drug smuggling racket. Thus, the 2 multi-day fishing trawlers, 11 suspects and narcotics were brought to the Galle Harbour this morning for onward legal action. Acting IGP Deshabandhu Tennakon has paid his last respects to the body of K.A. Manjula Rukshanta Kumar Tilakam, who was killed in a police shooting incident in Narammala.
The police has handed over compensation amounting to 1 million rupees to the family members of Manjula Rukshanta. The remains of the deceased were brought to the residence in Bennarua in Alawa last night. Manjula Rukshanta was unexpectedly killed by police fire during an operation conducted by officials of the Narammala police station near the Narammala town recently. The acting IGP Deshabandhu Tennakon, after extending his condolences to the family members of the residents, has presented the donation of 1 million rupees. Given to stop vehicles travelling on the road by officials dressed in civil clothes. He added that previous IGPs had clearly ordered not to engage in such practices. The acting IGP further said they are, as the police post, do not approve the actions of the sub-police inspector. He further said that a new investigation into the incident is being conducted by the police special unit. The services of the relevant official was suspended yesterday. Duties of other officials connected to the incident have also been suspended. He also said that they would fulfill their responsibilities on behalf of the deceased.
A workshop to educate community police committee members in the Colombo Southern Police Division was held at the Nellumpogala Theatre in Colombo yesterday. Minister Tiran Alis has presided over the event, which was attended by Community Police Committee members of 8 police stations in the Colombo South Police Division. Chief of Presidential Staff and Presidential Advisor on National Security Sagala Ratnayaka said that the objective of the Yukti operation is not only to eradicate the drug menace from the society, but also to bring into the law the chief distributor of narcotics. This is a problem to the entire world. The money earned through drug racketeering are being used to purchase arms. Minister Tiran Alis said that question being asked many times is that whether they are going to engage in the operation for a few days. The minister has pledged that as far as he remains in the ministerial portfolio, the operations will not be halted.
We'll be back with more local stories after a break.
දක්ෂිණ ලංකා පොත් ප්‍රදර්ශනය 2024 ජනවාරි 19 සිට 28 තෙක් පෙරළු 9 සිට පස්වරු 7 දක්වා ගාල්ල නගර සභා පරිශ්‍රයේදී සංවිධානය පොදු රාජ්‍ය මණ්ඩලීය ප්‍රකාශන ජාලය.
Welcome back. We move on to more local stories. The first Suodana Mobile Health Clinic of the year was conducted in Athkandra in Gaul today. The Health Ministry is organizing the program with the objective of enhancing health condition of the rural general public.
Minister Dr. Ramesh Patirana has presided over the event, which commenced at the Sivali Mahavidyalaya at Kandura Gaul today. The health program has included dental health clinics, mobile laboratory services, eye clinics and Ayurvedic clinics. More than 100 officials of the medical and health staff of the Colombo National Hospital were engaged in treatment services.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa has presided over the ceremony held in connection with the opening of the Polonnaruwa District Coordinating Committee office yesterday. The office is located at the Polonnaruwa District Secretariat. State Minister Siripala Gamlat, Chairman of the Polonnaruwa District Development Committee Jagat Samaravikrama and District Secretary Sujantha Ekanayaka were among those who have attended the event.
And now for a few more local news items in brief. A Central Province workshop to enlighten media personnel organized by the United Nations Development Programme was held in Kandy yesterday. Attention has been focused on this occasion on civilized media reporting. Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Mass Media K.L. Vijayanaika was among others who participated in the event. Wildlife officials have been successful in catching a massive crocodile which came into a house in Salalihigama in Vaunia. The 8-foot-long alligator was released to the Nandunkari Proctorate. The carcass of a wild elephant believed to have been electrocuted was found in Sihinapura in Valikanda. A correspondent says the beast may have been entangled in a live power cable erected around a home garden to protect crops. An elephant of around 35 years old and 8.5 feet in height, which was roaming in the Somavati Protectorate, was reported to have met with the accident. A large injured turtle which came into the shore was recovered near the National Wildlife Sanctuary of Pigeons Island in Trincomalee recently. When the animal had regained health as a result of medical treatment provided by wildlife officials, it was once again released to the waters. A conference on green fuel usage in the Indian Maritime Zone was conducted in Colombo recently. Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva was the chief guest of the event organized by the Sri Lanka-Italy Official Economic Association. The participants of the conference were the University of Genova, Italy and the Moratowa University. A group including Italian ambassador in Sri Lanka, Damiano Rankovic, had participated on this occasion. A sum of 1,200 million rupees has been allocated for irrigation projects in the Ratnapura district. This was disclosed at a progress evaluation meeting of irrigation projects in the Ratnapura district presided over by Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi yesterday. The funds are scheduled to be utilized in flood control, reconstruction of irrigation projects and also on drinking water projects. We'll be back with foreign news right after this break.
Prima Stella Set Yogurt.
ජය ගන්න වැඩි වෙන්න.
We now move on to news overseas. 13 students have died after a fire broke out in a school dormitory in central China. The deadly blaze happened yesterday night at a school for young children in Yanshampu village in Henan province. The privately run school caters for nursery and primary age pupils. The manager of the school has been detained and an investigation is underway. One other person is being treated in hospital and is in a stable condition. No further details about the identities of the dead or the cause of the fire were released.
The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency touched down on the lunar surface the first time in the country. The feat made Japan only the 5th country to soft land on Earth's natural satellite after the US, the Soviet Union, China and India. The smart lander for investigating moon probe began its powered descent sequence towards the lunar surface early today. But the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency said it was still checking its status due to an issue with the craft's power supply. Officials also said they needed more time to analyze whether the unmanned spacecraft had a pinpoint landing, one of the priorities of the mission. Head of the Institute of Space and Astronautical Science said they believed that rovers were launched and data was being transmitted back to Earth.
Fires broken out over a large area of an oil storage depot in southern Russia after it was hit by a Ukrainian drone. Russian media reported that 4 oil tanks caught alight and the fire then spread over an area of 1,000 square meters. Russian authorities in the Bryansk region say no one was hurt. The Bryansk governor said the drone was intercepted near the town of Klintsy and its explosives that fell on the oil depot. The drone strike is the second on Russian oil facilities in 2 days. Russia's defense ministry said yesterday that its air defense systems had brought down a Ukrainian drone over Bryansk, and regional authorities said later that 2 further drones had been destroyed without damage.
Prima Kottumi.
The Ireland and South African teams have secured victories in the matches played in the opening day of the Under-19 World Cup cricket tournament played in South Africa.
The Ireland team beat the American team by 7 wickets by chasing a victory target of 106 runs. The American team all out for 105 runs in 40 overs and 2 deliveries. The Ireland team has reached the target in 22 overs. South Africa beat the West Indies by 32 runs in another match. The South African team has scored 285 runs with the loss of 9 wickets in 50 overs. The West Indies team in their victory chase was able to score only 254 runs.
Beautiful piece of bowling. Edged and gone. Another one.
Sri Lankan cricketer Mahesh Theekshana has shown special skills in the opening match of the International T20 League cricket tournament played in Sharjah. Representing the Sharjah's Warriors team, Mahesh Theekshana captured 4 wickets for 15 runs in the match played against the Gulf Giants team. The losers were able to score only 167 runs with the loss of 7 wickets in 20 overs. The Gulf Giants has scored 198 runs with the loss of 7 wickets and secured victory.
Prima Kottumi. Pantamai.
And that concludes your news bulletin for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow as well with the very latest, together with Sharifa and Prashant. Good night.